Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Talk to the CEO live on Facebook. I'm Darielle Snipes with the CMSD News Bureau. And so what we're doing tonight is we are having you ask the questions of CMSD CEO and Superintendent Eric Gordon, and he's going to answer them live. So here's how it's going to go. Submit a question in the comments, then members of the communication team will review them and then send them to me, and then I will ask them to Mr. Gordon. So while you ask your questions, I'm going to ask a few of my own. And without further ado, let's welcome the man of the hour, CMSD CEO and Superintendent Eric Gordon. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here again.
Yes, and happy new school year.
It is day 7. We've had a great start of the school year. I just can't compliment our kids and families and educators enough for a really smooth opening. Smooth 7 days, even with some pretty extreme heat yesterday that we had to muddle through. So we're off and running.
That's great. And so we talk about Get More with the school district. We started that last year with more arts, music, sports. So what can families expect this year when it comes to Get More?
Well, we've got a lot of stuff we're building on from last year, but additional things are we now have Wi-Fi on most of our school buses. We ordered about a third of our fleet being replaced, and they also, when the new buses arrive, will have Wi-Fi so kids can be online going to and from school on those devices they got last year. We're installing clever touch screens in all of our classrooms. They're touchable whiteboards where the students can actually present their work and do that sort of thing. We've already deployed in 40 buildings across the district, and by March we'll have every building covered in the district, so super excited about that. We've done a lot more around safety and security, and so we've upgraded a lot of our security cameras and things of that nature. We are expanding our esports program from 14 high schools to 20 high schools, and giving more opportunities for students to demonstrate real world learning and more relevant learning. And so just a few of the things coming. We've even got some more surprises coming around open house time of even additional things we're going to be rolling out to support kids and families.
Nice. And so one of those, possibly, if you want to talk about right now, is PowerSchool. I know we'll be rolling that out soon, and that's supposed to be an easy tool for families to use with one-stop shopping. Can you give us a little preview about that?
Yeah, so right now we're going through an upgrade of our student information system, which holds all of our student data. And frankly, it's a tough transition to do in a system our size. And I really, at first, just need to say to all of our students, parents, and educators, thank you for your patience as we're moving through. This was a necessary upgrade. Our old system was no longer being supported, and the privacy of the records is really important. But one of the bright sides of it is, one, we are finally through that transition, and we're getting there. We'll be turning on Parent Portal, which is a new, really easy-use portal for parents to look at your child's schedule, information about your child, update information about your child, contact your child's teacher, even eventually be able to look at your child's grades and assignments and know exactly what they're supposed to be doing in the class and how they're performing in the class. So we're really excited for that. Again, we think that'll be ready right about open house. We're also, and I'll just preview it here, we're also starting right around open house a new Get More support program where we'll have 24 hours, 7-day-a-week tutoring available for our kids. So that you will be able to reach out to the district for any content area, and we'll connect you with a live tutor using a global program from college students around the country that are actually available to help with that calculus or help with that language arts or whatever it might be. So there really is a lot more coming even as we get into this year.
That's great. And so, 7 days into the school year, how's enrollment doing? I know that the littlest scholars, they start their first full day of preschool on Friday, but how is it going?
We've enrolled 1,200 kids in just over a week. So enrollment is going really, really strong. It's going so strong, in fact, that on tomorrow and Thursday, we're having our enrollment center stay open right here at 11:11 until 7 o'clock, so that families have the opportunity, if they're not already back in school, for the kindergarten through 12th grade students, or if they're getting ready to enroll their preschool students, there's some extra opportunity to do that. People can go to choosecmsd.org and submit their materials or make online appointments as well. But really, really important, particularly at our high school level, that if our students aren't back in class, we need to get them there, but enrollment numbers are looking really good system-wide.
And speaking of that, September, which is just around the corner, is Attendance Awareness Month, and CMSD is going to be rolling out a huge campaign again, kind of like we did a couple years ago, starting off with a pep rally on September 7th. But can you just talk about, the campaign and how important it is for our students to get to school?
Yeah, September 7th, we're having a big kickoff pep rally, old school style, to kick off our Get to School You Can Make It campaign as part of the Stay in the Game network with the Cleveland Browns. We saw really disruptive attendance last year coming out of the pandemic, and we know that students who miss more than a day a month or 10 days a year are likely to have 12 to 15 point lower test scores in reading and math, which means that they're less likely to meet their third grade reading guarantee and get promoted to fourth grade, and even much less likely to graduate. So attendance is critical. We can't teach you if we're not here. So we're going to really use the month of September, which is September Awareness Month, to really drive home the message that we care if you're not there.
I understand. And last year, the students, especially your student advisory committee, they talked about this and some of the things as to why they might have been hesitant to come to school, especially during a pandemic. What has the district done to implement some of those things that the students might have suggested?
Yeah, last year was so tough because I don't think any of us really knew Omicron was going to hit as hard as it did. And Cleveland was one of the worst hit places in the country. We were ground zero for Omicron. So there were a lot of people really afraid of COVID at the time. That fear seems to have settled down a little bit. We are still providing all of the sanitation, the PPE. We are still making masks available for anyone who wants to wear them. We still have our COVID hotline to help families and employees if they do get COVID. We're still doing notifications, but it feels like we've settled in past some of that. We also know that just behavioral health was a critical issue, and so we've really started this year with a relationships, rituals, and routines focus. We've created a toolkit of resources that schools can activate. I've urged our schools to reward the kinds of behaviors that they want very liberally at the beginning of the year, to take time to build those relationships, rituals, and routines last week and into this week as we head into Labor Day, so that when we do really deeply get into content, we're doing it on a foundation of relationships that help us have a healthy, mentally and physically healthy year.
Wonderful. So questions are starting to come in, which is
Great.
a good thing. So we have a couple questions when it comes to school lunches. Ashley is saying, what are the plans to implement organizations that focus on quality food into Cleveland schools to provide students with healthy options? And another parent also asked a question about what about healthy options when it comes to lunch?
Yeah, one of the things that happened through the pandemic is the USDA put some really harsh safety criteria in place of what we can and cannot serve. And so we had to move to a lot of shrink-wrapped, prepackaged foods. Those things are starting to ease up, so you're going to start seeing a lot more fresh fruits and vegetables again. You'll see yogurts and things of that nature. I was actually in breakfast at one of our schools last week where those kinds of things were on the menu, juices and milks, individual servings. Again, we're also reinstating the sharing tables so that students don't throw away food. They can share it, and if they're hungry still, they can get other items. And in our high schools, we're putting the flavor stations back so that it's not only healthy, but also it tastes good. Because a lot of the school nutrition rules, that you have to be really low fat, really high fiber, really low salt. Well, that takes a lot of the taste out of food. So the high school flavor stations are back as well. I actually saw that when I was visiting at school as well. So kids and families will start seeing more variety and more fresh products again now that the USDA rules are starting to return to some normalcy post-pandemic.
Good. And Angela asked, why don't all schools have a security officer at the door by the metal detectors? What improvements has the district made to keep children safe?
So at this point, all schools do have at least one full-time safety officer. When an officer is out or on leave, we actually assign part of our mobile team to cover for that officer. Many schools have more than one and also have part-time security. We've made a huge effort over the summer around getting full staffed in our officers. We're still hiring, so if people are out there and looking for work, we're hiring across the organization. But one really innovative thing we did that I'm really excited about and proud of is we actually teach safety at Glenville High School during the year, and our own teacher, Commander Coates, actually taught the OPATA course that we led in the district. We're the only district in Ohio to actually train our own safety and security officers and have them meet the Ohio Patrolman Association Training Academy credentials. And so we do, again, have officers for each building. They're not always stationed directly at the detector during the day because they move around the building while the doors are locked, but are continuing to staff up as well. And that's only a part of the safety improvements that we've made over the summer.
Right. And so speaking about staffing, worked really hard to make sure that we are 98% staffed when it comes to teachers. Can you just talk about the recruitment effort there?
Well, there's a national shortage of teachers and school employees. We have been working hard all summer. We onboarded 60 new people just this week. Yesterday, there are 2 in my queue that as soon as I'm done, I'm going back to approve hiring those 2 that came through just today. So it is an ongoing process, but we have managed to hire 98% of our teacher needs, either for permanent teachers or for long-term substitute teachers who have the licenses we need, and we're continuing to hire as well. And that is not perfect. 100% would be perfect, but that's certainly far better than what we're seeing in a lot of communities around the country. But again, I would say to people who are listening, if you have a high school diploma and you're looking for good pay and great benefits, we are hiring. We need paraprofessionals, we need school secretaries, we need environmental service specialists, we need dietary and nutrition people. And once in the organization, there's a lot of opportunity to skill up and to promote. And so anyone out there that's looking for work, again, good money, great benefits, and we'll hire. We're hiring.
And so again, I just want to remind everyone, we are CEO Eric Gordon is answering your questions live here on Facebook. So if you have a question, don't hesitate. Ask it now in the comments, and then I will be able to ask it to him. So moving on, another thing that we were talking about, it's clear that, students were struggling emotionally last year when school returned to in-person learning 5 days a week. How is the district supporting that when it comes to this year?
Yeah, so first, again, we really focused on starting with relationships, rituals, and routines at the school and classroom level. And in my school visits over the course of the last 7 days, I've seen so many examples of teachers really taking the time to invest in all 3 of those things, really getting to know their kids, really getting kids to connect back together with friends, really focusing on classroom and school routines. And when you're in our schools and hallways, it already feels like we're deep into the year because teachers have really put this effort, teachers and schools have really put this effort together. We also have really been identifying a number of programs and assemblies and motivational speakers and things of that nature, particularly for middle school kids, to remind them of the proactive behaviors that we know that they can and often do demonstrate. And also to be responsive if and when something were to occur that was not proactive, that we don't want kids doing. And for high schools, really looking to find out who are those additional adults that can be available, visible in the school. We have partnerships with the recreation centers, partnerships with churches, partnerships with other youth programs, just to have more visibility and support, because that matters to high school students. And so those are just a few of the things we're doing. And again, every school received $150 per student of our relief funding money so that the school can be responsive for things they know that the kids or the adults in the school might need as well.
And so one of the parents is asking, how do you plan to increase parent engagement? I really enjoy engaging with schools over the summer.
Yeah, so parent engagement is so critical, and we really want it to be two-way engagement. So we already have our Parent Ambassadors program, and if your school does not already, I don't know the parent or the parent school, but if they don't already have an ambassador, we are hiring parents from those schools, because who better to talk with another parent than somebody from that school? And so we're going to continue to invest in that Parent Ambassador program, which I'm so excited about. We also are actively planning a cycle of the different kinds of engagement activities so that we're more deliberate about the opportunities for parents to engage in multiple ways. And I'm actually taking my Student Advisory Committee model, which is 400 high school students that I personally get to meet with quarterly to solve problems that only they can solve, like the attendance conversation we had. And we're going to stand up a Parent Advisory Committee where we're going to invite parents from all of our schools to come in. I'm going to share with them a problem that I know we have, but I don't understand enough to solve, so that I can get true parent voice in that work as well. So those are some of the examples. We also last year worked with Harvard University to have a parent group that helped us to do some standard setting and focus grouping of parents, and so we've got a lot of feedback from that as well. And that core parent group is actually helping us design the district level things while our schools are trying to actively engage, because many parents get the most value about communication with their school and a little less value about communication with the district, but I really need communication with parents from a district level so that I can make better decisions on behalf of kids and parents as we go. So we're trying to find a balance of both.
No, that's great, especially to get that parent input. That's great. Another parent actually is asking, what is the plan to create thriving, inspiring environments inside the buildings? I guess at their school, there are no colors of artwork inside of the building to inspire youth to be creative. I didn't say what school, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, first of all, that's a problem that I would encourage the school and the parent team to tackle, because we are expanding art, music, and phys ed at particularly our pre-K-8 schools. And part of it is doing the things inside of our schools, murals and things like that. We're also working with out-of-school partnerships like Art Impact or the old Progressive Arts Alliance, and they actually focus on student-created installation artwork that can help beautify buildings and help create that inspiration. We're expanding our out-of-school time programming at every pre-K-8 school so that kids have fun things to do that bring them joy and adventure. And we're really encouraging our teachers in our schools to find authentic opportunities for kids to demonstrate, in this case if it's arts that inspires them, but whether it be STEM, whether it be whatever kids enjoy doing, real opportunities to demonstrate learning so that schools become joyous and adventurous places where young people will thrive. But for this particular parent in school, I would really encourage the parent to reach out to the full-time art teacher that's at their school. If it's a pre-K-8, at high school, that they would want to talk to the principal about what programming they specifically have for that high school too, and make beautification one of the authentic learnings that can happen in that school.
Yes, and so I know you mentioned that more sports and esports was expanding. Are there any other opportunities for students when it comes to sports?
Well, we're trying to make every kind of opportunity available, and so we also live stream all of our sports now, and this year we'll be starting live streaming clubs where the students are actually running the live streams if they're interested in maybe broadcast like your career.
Yes.
And also doing color commentary. We started it last year, but we want to expand it this year. We're also actually running classes where our students can actually train to be sports officials and then can actually get paid to be the sports officials for our middle school programming.
Nice.
So high school students being trained and then actually running the program. So it's both the front end of the sport and the back end of the sport. But we're going beyond that. Last year we started our Civics 2.0 program where students are actively doing civics, and now we're podcasting and blogging. This year, in partnership with CMSD News Bureau, we're trying to do the same with journalism students. Instead of the old-fashioned journalism high school newspaper, having them actually be stringers working for the News Bureau and writing stories that they're interested in telling our community and putting it in our News Bureau and in our community newspapers. So we're really looking for what are the things that interest a group of kids and how do we leverage it to be something authentic that they get to do, and then use that to demonstrate, in the case of journalism, my understanding of language arts, or in live streaming, the science that sits behind it, as just a couple of examples.
That's great, and it's very exciting to see. We do need help in the News Bureau.
There are so many great stories to
Right.
tell about our kids
There
and community, and we just don't have the capacity on our own. But we've got the capacity if we tap into budding journalists who really want to
sure.
learn this craft, whether they do multimedia journalism or whether they do the print media.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that and a lot of other opportunities that our kids will have this year.
Yes, I'm excited about that. But switching gears, I know that it is the start of the school year, but even last year with what happened in Uvalde, Texas, is still on the hearts and minds of many. And so many want to know, what is the district doing to make sure that our students stay safe in the school buildings?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think we have to remember that CMSD has metal detectors in all of our buildings, and that is already a uniqueness compared to most school districts. A lot of people have said, well, that's the school-to-prison pipeline. I would push back and say we go through metal detectors to go to the Browns game. We go through metal detectors to go to the Indians game or the Guardians game. We do so to go to the airport. Metal detectors are designed to make sure that our kids inside of our buildings are safe and that people aren't coming in. We also, in most buildings, have what's called a sally port so that you get into the first door but not into the second door before you go through security. So we have some things which are called hardening that makes our buildings physically start from a more secure point. We also, again, have at least one full officer at every building and layering if an officer's going to be out using our mobile team, and in many cases more. But then once in the building, we have retrained on our code red, or there's an incident happening inside the building, and so all of our faculty retrained before school started. And in these first couple of weeks of schools, we're actually running code red drills so that everybody remembers what to do. We printed this classroom emergency response guide that hangs in every classroom, and it has all kinds of emergencies, but includes the code red, so that even if there's a substitute, there's something right there for that person to know, what am I supposed to be doing in the event of an emergency. We have spent almost $1 million upgrading our camera systems across the city so that we have state-of-the-art and good repair on all of our cameras. And we just got a $1.6 million grant from the state of Ohio to improve PA systems, locks on classroom doors, things of that nature, which we'll be implementing yet this year as well. Finally, and most importantly though, everybody's job is safety. It's not the safety officer, it's everybody's job. And so the see something, say something still matters the most. The reason that we are able to identify problems quickly is because of kids and adults who see something and say something and alert our safety team. So that's really important to keep in mind as we continue into this school year.
Understand. Another parent is asking, how can we make more parents and caregivers aware of the resources available to them in a bolder way? The Tech Fest was a great way to display all the district had to offer, and there are more events of that nature. Are there more events of that nature coming? I really enjoyed the Tech Fest and the Back to School Bash. Those were really fun.
We really enjoyed Tech Fest and Back to School Bash, and the short answer is yes. That was a test to see how we do exactly what this parent said, is help our parents know all of the resources, all of the supports, all of the opportunities, all of the options. So we are really working actively to be at a lot more festivals and fairs of other people. I'm excited about Newburgh Heights' Fall Fest as an example of that. We are actively planning more of our own events. We're moving up our high school choice events to be in the fall when people are also looking at parochial schools. So we're really looking at having more of these district-led events and these other opportunities, really thinking about how to engage differently with our open houses, things of that nature. And again, those parent ambassadors helping to run those smaller events for people right at their own school to show what that school has. I mean, so many of our K-8 schools now have Fab Labs as an example. And getting parents in and getting them to see their children actually making things. But also, part of the demonstrations of learning that I keep talking about should be an opportunity for young people to invite their parents and caregivers and friends to see their work. Because that's what a parent wants to see, you know. So yes, it's important that we come to parent conference and see the grade at the end of the day, but more important to see our students perform, to see our students present their content, to see our students actually create their content, to see them be able to stand in front of an audience and answer questions about what they learned. That's where parents get pride for their children and their learning. Sure. And so we need to continue to have lots more of those in our schools throughout the year as well.
I understand. Another question, I know that during the pandemic, CMSD offered ways to get Wi-Fi connectivity at homes. One parent is asking, does CMSD offer free high-speed internet? If so, what is the process to get it?
We still are providing free high-speed internet. You can just reach out to our tech department. That telephone number is on our website. And the tech department will help you through that. We are doing it in a couple of ways. We have a partnership with Charter Spectrum where we can actually mail modems if you are in the Charter Spectrum connectivity region, and you can hook them up by yourself, or you can get support to have them hooked up. We also have a partnership with Digital C, which is a nonprofit here in town that is expanding their infrastructure. And then where that's not possible, we're still layering with hotspots so that every CMSD student and their families can be connected while they're at home. So just call our technology department. Again, that number is on the website, or it's also in our calendar if you got our calendar. And the help desk there can walk any family through getting the support they need.
Perfect. Turning to transportation, why isn't transportation provided for all students? What can be done to increase transportation option for kids?
So right now we provide transportation for all students who live more than a mile from their zoned school and for a select number of our K-8 schools. And then we offer RTA transportation for all high school students and many middle school students so that they can get anywhere that they want. Transportation is a very big, very expensive proposition with lots of tricky laws in it. We are responsible not only for transporting CMSD students, but also students who attend charter schools and parochial schools. And we have to provide exactly the same service to them that we provide for CMSD. So if we provided door-to-door service for every single student, even if they live just down the street, we would have to do that for all of the charter schools and all the parochial schools, and that's just simply not practical. That's why that 1 mile zone is so important to us. The state minimum requirement is actually 2 miles. That's too long for us. We don't think that should ever be the case. It used to be the case. And then for high school students, actually, there is no requirement, but again, we think every student should have it. So high school students get an RTA pass that's valid 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. so that they can be at school early, they can be at school late. And then, like I said, the yellow bus service for 1 mile for schools.
I understand. And I just want to remind everyone, we are asking CMSD CEO and Superintendent Eric Gordon questions, your questions. So if you have a question, please ask it in the comments below, as his time is valuable, so he's not going to be here all night answering questions. So make sure you ask him right now.
We're going to be here the whole program, I promise.
Yes, the whole program, but not all night. So please ask him right now so that he can answer your questions. So we do have another question. Can we invest in field trips to expand the student opportunities? Are you investing more resources in this?
So all of our schools should have money for field trips. I've, again, given every school $150 per student to do basically anything they want to support their kids in addition and beyond their typical school budget to help with the pandemic. In addition to that, we have reinstated our pre-K through 8 Sci for CLE program, which gets every one of our students at every grade level into a science-based field trip through the course of the year. So this is a partnership with the Great Lakes Science Center, the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, the Shaker Lakes Preserve, and a number of other partners where at each grade level all students go on a field trip for every student in that grade over the course of the year, provided by the district as well. But again, field trips are things that teachers and schools are welcome to get back started. They kind of had to shut down during the pandemic. And I think schools are still feeling out what people are ready to do and what they're not ready to do post-pandemic. And so I really, again, I urge us to, we have to get back to living. And the pandemic's still here, but we have to get back to living, and field trips is one of those examples.
I understand. So I want to talk about something that happened today with the renaming of Patrick Henry Pre-K through 8 school to Stephanie Tubbs Jones Leadership Academy. Such a historic day here in CMSD, and 2 other schools will be renamed for some very prominent women here in Cleveland that did a lot for their community. Can you just talk about the significance of today and also renaming 3 of our schools for women?
Well, let's start with naming for women, because it was actually National Women Equity Day earlier last week, reminding us that there are still so many inequities for women. And these are not only women, but they're prominent minority women in our community's history. Today was Stephanie Tubbs Jones, who of course was our congresswoman in the 11th district, the first black female elected to Congress in that role. She also played a storied, celebrated career here in Cleveland. She's a Collinwood High School graduate, also a CMSD graduate. We renamed Patrick Henry School for Stephanie Tubbs Jones today in the Glenville neighborhood. Next week we'll be renaming Thomas Jefferson International Academy to Natividad Pagan International Academy. Natividad was a long-serving member of the district as a principal and a director in a multilingual, multicultural program, but she was also a prominent figure in our Puerto Rican community here in Cleveland, and just a legend here that I knew well and really cherished. And then Louis Agassiz is being renamed after Mary Church Terrell, who also had a very, very prominent role in civil rights work here in Cleveland. But something also I want to be really clear is we're not choosing the path of the cancel culture, that we're erasing history. So even in these 3 buildings, we are putting up the plaques and the new names of these new prominent people that we believe are emblematic of who our kids should aspire to be. But we're also putting up educational plaques saying why we chose to take these other names off, even though in a couple of cases these are our founding fathers. But what was it about their beliefs at the time that no longer meet the aspirations and beliefs we want for children? So we didn't try to erase the past, we tried to use the past as actually an educational moment in these buildings while moving into a future where our children can see themselves, our young girls and women seeing themselves in these three figures.
Wonderful. So I know that September the report card comes out. They changed the grading system.
Yeah.
What can you give us a preview if you know what CMSD can look forward to?
So there's some big changes. There's no longer letter grades. Now there are star ratings from 1 to 5 stars. This year also there's no final grade or summative grade, so we're going to get kind of a dashboard of 1 to 5 stars in multiple different categories, and many of the categories look similar but are actually different. So it's going to be really hard to explain a apples to apples kind of thing. Why is the grad rate this on the old report card and the grad rate this on the new report card? I mean, look, here's what we know, and we know that parents and the community knows it too. The pandemic hurt us, and this report card is going to show that impact. I'm certain of it. And last year, we all thought at this time of the year we were in recovery, and then we got, Omicron in November, December, January, February. The pandemic hurt us. But we also know, and we know this from polling and focus grouping of our parents, going back to the learning from our parents, that our parents are aware of it and also believe that we can and will recover. And so what we have to look at this report card as the setting the benchmark of, okay, here's where we're starting post-pandemic in this recovery on this new report card, and setting our sights for the improvements that will come out of that. Can I tell you yet what each component's not going to be? I can't yet. The report card comes out on September 15th, and often the state is working on the data right up to the day of release. I can tell you it's going to be tough, and I can tell you that we are a resilient community, and we will rebuild those lost learning time moments as we go through this school year and into the years ahead.
Understand. So I'm going to give you the last question, which is the question I always like to ask, especially at the beginning of the school year, is what do you have to say to our educators, our parents, and our caregivers as we enter this new school year?
I'm just so excited for this year. I have visited already 12 schools, and so that's more than 10% of our district, actually 13 now today. And at every place I saw kids and adults really engaged and really working on a strong start to the school year. I saw a lot of, just happiness that I want us to hold on to and carry into the year. I really want us to focus on setting the conditions that make really rich learning happen, and then the outcomes will take care of themselves. And so I just want to thank all of our students, our parents, and our educators for the strong start in these first 7 days, and what I fully believe is going to be a really, really great school year together as a community. I also just need to say again, I'm so proud of our community and how we have navigated now nearly 3 years of a pandemic that we were told was going to be a 3-week vacation. I have the luxury of talking with peers all across the country about what did or didn't occur in their school communities and in their cities. Clevelanders have a lot to be proud of, and I'm personally proud of our kids, our families, and our educators.
Wonderful. Well, here's to a great school year.
Here's to a great school year.
And thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I would like to thank you for asking Mr. Gordon questions. And if we didn't get to your questions tonight, do know that we will make an effort to try to answer them offline. But again, thanks for watching, and thanks for asking your questions, and have a good night.